This film study video is going to focus on some of the more important plays that led up to the Ravens falling once again to the Pittsburgh Steelers 27-22 at home in Week 14. That puts Pittsburgh one game ahead of them in the loss column at this point. Ravens need a lot of help in order to make the playoffs at this point. Let's get to the film, and then I'll have some summary evaluations or thoughts at the end. I think I've got 10 plays queued up here. We're going to start with this one on the second possession. It's a 3rd and 5. Of course, this is going to be a sack by the nickel DB for the Steelers. I think it's Eccles. I'm really tired of the people who try to justify these things and support it at this point. You've been exposed to multiple Ravens content creators talking about the inability to play athletically at this level that Faalele exhibits. Voorhees is also inconsistent, but he has athletic ability and talent as a long-term guy. Do I think we should acquire and look to move on from both of those guys, or at least put us in position to compete legitimately? Yes. We should have done that in 2025. How no one in the Ravens organization stood on the table and said, we are putting a guy out there who literally can't do some of the things we're asking him to do. This is a nickel DB against a, quote, starting right guard in the NFL, and we lose this matchup. If you want to be a playoff team, you do not put substandard talent out there like that. No personal attack on Daniel Faalele. Hopefully he's able to go on somewhere else and improve. I will say this. At some point this year, we're all going to move on to the draft. Mentally, there's a part of me that's there already. If you saw this from a potential offensive lineman against a Big Ten or SEC DB, who's a good player, Eccles is a good player, but not someone that's a first-round talent. If this is what you saw, where would you categorize that player? It's it's a one-time data point, don't get me wrong, but this is not isolated. We've seen this consistently. It's put Lamar Jackson at risk. You can't win with this type of behavior from an organizational standpoint. Everyone knew he couldn't play, except John Harbaugh, except George Warhop, and except some of you who only pay attention to PFF grades that apparently tell you the guy can pass block. Moving forward to the fourth possession, this is in the second quarter. It's another 3rd down. This is, of course, the interception by Lamar. Most of my breakdown here is going to focus on this play and this pattern that we're seeing. So we're running man routes here. Lamar's trying to get the ball late to Rasheen Ali. It's not a part of the read. It's a poor throw by Lamar. It just is. Get over it. He's trying to fit it over top of the flat corner. They do rush the two OLBs, Watt and Highsmith, gave us trouble all day. This is interesting. This is almost a little bit like a spy or a late delayed rush. You can see they've got 3 dedicated rushers here. Faalele kind of peels off to help Rosengarten, and they KO Watt together. Voorhees is one-on-one with Hayward, clearly getting his hands up and holding. I don't know, at what point should the refs call it. There's definitely a hold going on there, but it allows Lamar to get out of there. This defensive tackle, kind of a slow rush, if you will. You'll get the all-22 in a moment. It's a 2-high safety structure pre-snap, so it kind of looks like 2-man. Nobody's going to play 2-man against Lamar, so that's what bothers me about us being fooled or tricked by these things. This is James Pierre, actually, Lamar's cousin, obviously, at this point. We're trying to get the ball. Everybody knows that at this point. We're trying to get the ball to Ali over the top of him. I guess Lamar is... It, to me, looks like he's trying to figure out, okay, how hard should I throw this ball and with what trajectory? If this was in the end zone, it almost looks like he's trying to throw this to the back shoulder and not get the ball out here over top of the corner. This will be my criticism of Lamar. And I kind of said it in the reaction video last night. Hey, Lamar, you can win games for us in the fourth quarter. He did yesterday. I believe it. He threw a touchdown to Isaiah Likely that gave us the lead with 2:30 left or 2:25 left, something like that. But you can't lose the game in the second quarter. This allows them to go up from a 10-3 lead, actually become 17-3 after the BS penalty on Travis Jones. My point is we've got to be more risk. I actually believe Lamar is already risk-averse, but some of the decision-makings, and I don't know how to simulate that at the NFL level. I know how to simulate it at a far lower level. You just continue to put the guy in these situations in practice, and you have some positive and negative outcomes associated with it, whatever they may be. If you've ever coached before, you can come up with some on your own. Look, it's a great play by Pierre, but this ball should be, in my opinion, this ball, instead of being located here, just from the 2D look that we have at this point, should be somewhere up in this area, in my opinion. Lofted over the defensive back. It's a poor throw. Lamar's put in that position because we're running man routes against a zone coverage. This is happening a lot. And how do you know what coverage they're going to play? Game preparation, situational awareness, and data. And so Monken, my guess is he's calling these plays based upon the data that's available. It looks like two-man pre-snap, so you've got two safeties high. You're not going to play two-man. By the way, the running back will be guarded by Patrick Queen, the remaining inside linebacker. They don't play two-man against Lamar. When they do, it's really a spy. And that's kind of what the Pittsburgh Steelers get accomplished here, but it's a zone structure. Really, they're dropping out in a cover two. Here's the routes. I mean, Zay's route literally just brings us right back to the corner, right back to Joey Porter Jr. These are not cover two. These are not routes to beat a cover two. These are routes to beat man. And what I mean when I say that is check out Andrews' release here as it relates to Likely. Andrews is really almost kind of hesitating because he's thinking that on Likely's route underneath that this defender, which is Pierre, is going to go with him, is going to track with Isaiah Likely. Basically, man, that's not what we get. We get zone. You're going to be wrong sometimes, right? The quarterback, the receivers have to be able to adjust during the play. This is happening a lot. I don't know if other people are talking about it or not. I definitely will reach out to some of the other Ravens content creators that, I'm fortunate enough to be able to communicate with on a weekly basis and just discuss things that we're noticing. This is cover two and basically a zone. Look at Bateman's route. There's nothing here, right? There's nothing here. Flowers is bringing this route back into Porter's leverage, and that's where Lamar's looking. Bateman is bringing this route directly into the safety. I don't know what we're reading. If we're asking the receiver to read it there and we read zone cover two, then there's got to be some breaking off of the route, whether it's an in-breaking route, whether it's an out-breaking route. High school kids do this. I know some who do. Maybe not this fast, this quickly, but this is happening a lot. It doesn't mean that we can't apply some blame to Lamar. This is the slow rush, the added rusher, the fourth guy, if you will. And then Ali kind of tries to sneak out and basically take his path over top of the cover two. It's really tough to tell if this is a regular cover two or a Tampa, and that's because of Queen. He's so undisciplined at times, he's so inconsistent, at times with his pass drops that you kind of can't tell whether this is supposed to be a Tampa or not. You do have some differentiation between the depth of those two safeties. In any case, Lamar scrambles out there. He tries to put it over top of Pierre, who makes a great play. I think I see what Lamar's trying to do. We all do, right? You need a better throw, obviously. The larger issue for me is that we're consistently being put in these situations where we're not able to get routes run against the correct coverage. You can see the trajectory that we don't get, right? In order to get it over top of that corner and drop it into Ali somewhere around in this area here, Lamar just doesn't put the right trajectory on it. It should be okay for you or anyone to say that because it's reality. Like I said, Pittsburgh, was going to take a 13-3 lead. In fact, they did convert the field goal. And then kind of a really questionable call, if you ask me, on Travis Jones. Gave them a first and goal, and Gainwell scores on the ensuing play. Move forward here. This is generally going to talk about our offense, but we do have to discuss this play. And I think we're going to compare it, I'm going to try to what the Steelers do on some of these third downs against us. So this is a 3rd and 4. This is, of course, the 38-yard touchdown to Jaylen Warren. I don't feel like our defensive prep is specific, and I've kind of been saying that for a long time, and maybe I haven't done a great job of explaining what I mean. We just are cookie cutter, in my opinion. So we're not playing a coverage respective of the fact that we've got 3 to the boundary. There's all these kinds of routes that could be run. One of our favorite, as the Ravens, is snag flat, roughly like that. All right, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2 into the boundary. So you need 3 guys to cover that. And we blitz Gilman, so the math doesn't work. I suspect that Gilman is supposed to cover someone, probably Freiermuth running up the seam, who's wide open. We should be very critical of certain players at times, fine. But when you have 2 wide open guys on the same third down play, it's about as easy as it gets for Aaron Rodgers. Who do you blame then? man, if you don't start talking about the defensive coordinator, the defensive staff responsible for this, then you just don't see the game the way that I do. That can't happen right there, number one. Sure, okay, Green is supposed to expand with the flat threat. I thought Green had some undisciplined, maybe inexperienced reactions to a couple of things in this game. Go ahead and chalk this one up to Green if you want to. My point is that the guys in their 40s, 50s, and maybe even 60s as coaches who've been around the game for a long time, at some point need to recognize these are not the types of things that we're playing well in some of these high-leverage situations when we're faced with a quality quarterback. Regardless of what you think of Aaron Rodgers, for whatever reason, I really don't give a shit. He was shredding us in the first half. At some point, we need to recognize it's not Tyrod Taylor back there. It's not whoever the other quarterbacks were that we faced during our 5-game win streak. Burrow, Rodgers, we've made things way too easy on them. That play reminds me of asking Roquan to defend Iosivas on the vertical, or Yoshivas, on the vertical on a 3rd and 8 last week that accounted for the Bengals' last touchdown. It's irresponsible, and at what point do we say, hey, we would like to run these things, these simulated pressures, and help us get pressure on the quarterback, but we're not really executing them very well. Therefore, let's kind of minimize that or remove it from the playbook and play some other coverages. We act like this is the only option we have on 3rd and 4. And in my opinion, definitely from the last 2 weeks, we've got ample evidence that proves we're not doing a good job operating out of these looks. I think we'll move over to the offensive side for the rest of this video. It's going to be a long one. Maybe I should have said that in the lead up. But this is early in the 4th quarter. We're down 27-16, 3rd and 4. This is, of course, the Bateman drop. And I will talk about the pass pro from the end zone angle here in a moment. So this is basically what we get. Mesh concept between Bateman and Andrews, and then Likely's going to come down in motion, left to right, call it short motion if you will, and then run a route over the middle as well. This is a really great job by the inside linebacker to Andrews' side. So it's the trip side. Andrews, Flowers, and Likely are. Watch him bang Andrews in the middle of the field. I think that they've got an aspect of this coverage that is kind of, I don't want to say blown, but irregular. The pressure, however, is what defeats us, and that's Queen getting through untouched. Blame Ali if you want to. When you get the end zone angle, it'll be pretty obvious who's at fault here. As far as the pass pro aspect of this, Lamar still able to find Bateman. It's a drop. I think Porter is closing in and probably going to make the tackle, but we're going to get the first down. You can see that the line to gain is the +6. Very unfortunate situation. A huge missed opportunity, right? We probably get a first down on the 5 or the 4. If Bateman makes a miss, then we get a touchdown right there. End zone angle, same play. It's so easy to exploit our offensive line. This is very Vikings-esque, if you will. It's only a 4-man rush, number one. Number two, on a 3rd and 4, they're operating out of their base defensive structure. So this, to me, is just professional level preparation as far as how to exploit our offensive line. By getting someone to line up over Falele, they're going to drop out both of the OLBs in coverage here and then blitz Queen. You should never have an inside linebacker that is able to just run in a direct straight line from his normal alignment right at your quarterback for 5-6 yards, whatever it is, and be totally untouched. This is not NFL level guard play. Bottom line, that cannot occur. Does Voorhees lose a lot on the other side? Sure. Criticize him if you want to. It could have been Voorhees here. We could do a mirror image of this if you want to. Imagine that if you're one of those guys who wants to talk about Voorhees when the problem on this particular play is Falele. We're constantly setting Lamar and the offense up for failure by putting this guy out in the field. Nothing's going to change, in my opinion. In any case, here's Bateman running across the field. Lamar, I think, is looking in the middle for a moment. Andrews' route got interrupted, like I showed you, by 55. I thought 55 played a better game than Queen, to be honest with you. More functional and consistent inside linebacker reactions. I believe he actually led the team in tackles. But in any case, it's a pass that Bateman could clearly catch out in front. Lamar puts a little zip on it, probably to keep it out in front of of Porter. Definitely one that we could catch and give ourselves another opportunity to score from inside the 5, or maybe Bateman makes him miss. In any case, we cut it to 27-19. I think this is the next possession, and it's a 2nd and 8. Now, I want to talk about the way that the Steelers defend some of this stuff. When their base defense was on the field, and that's what you've got here, okay? You've got their base defense on the field. This is the other inside linebacker. There's Queen. That's the 2 inside linebackers. So here's your interior 3, and then OLB, Herbig, OLB, TJ Watt. Generally, you can track coverages during the game. Actually, my brother actually used to do that for our high school team that we all coached. And so basically what he would do is, to the best of his ability, what coverage was the team in based upon what look? So was it base defense? Was it nickel? By the time you got to halftime, man, you could see it. It was amazing. The first time he did it, we were like, wait a minute. Every time they're in the nickel defense and it's 2nd and whatever, it's cover 0. Yeah, it's kind of that easy. Maybe not at this level. We're fortunate that Lamar is able to turn this into an incomplete pass. I just don't think that we're not necessarily here, but we're not getting accurate data during the game. I think it seems to me Monken is calling the plays, the routes, based upon game plan, preparation, scouting, whatever you want to call it, leading up to the game. Maybe teams are changing some of their tendencies or patterns on the day that we play them. That's entirely possible. So give the Steelers credit for that. I actually think that's part of the dynamic dating back to even the Jets game. This is the same play from the end zone angle. There's their base look. Like I said, it's a 2nd and 8, 7-man pressure scheme. They're essentially overloading our left-hand side of the offensive line. Like I said, we're very fortunate, lucky that this is an incomplete pass. We can't block this. The larger point to me is that no one is in a position to be able to break off routes at all from an awareness standpoint. I guess Bateman would be the guy you would say we want to throw it underneath to him. I think it's Jabril Peppers, whose helmet you see right there. A moment ago, or if I rewind this a little bit, he's obviously off screen from you guys. He's trying to match it against stick split 0. We've generally tried to throw this ball out in front of Bateman on that same low drag that we showed you a moment ago, and he dropped. There's a convergence of crazy things that are happening here. I do want to point this out. Kind of hearkening back to our blown coverage on their 3rd and 4, the 38-yard touchdown to Jalen Warren. Look who's rushing. You've got OLBs, inside linebackers. Actually, that's an inside linebacker on the edge, so that's 2 inside linebackers right there. And then you've got Herbig and Watt, the 2 OLBs. Who's covering? The 2 corners and the 2 safeties. They're a smarter football team in some of these situations from the standpoint of what their answers are based upon the individual player and the talent level that they're facing. I think we're very cookie cutter on defense. It's something that Edgar Allen has phrased in a different way on our show Inside the Coverage every week. These are things that probably for my feeble mind I won't be able to catch up to and encapsulate in a perfect manner until the offseason when there's more time. I'm getting this video out late, obviously, on a Monday afternoon. We'll show one more play of our defense. At this point, it's the Okoye pass defense on a 2nd and 10 that, could have changed the game, obviously. It's 27-22 still Steelers at this point, and we're going to drop Hamilton out and rush Buchanan. Great. Perfect. We're rushing guys who are aggressive linebackers, outside linebackers, defensive tackles, and we're dropping Hamilton, a coverage guy, a safety. Fine. It's a zone blitz. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fundamental. Some of the other stuff that we're doing, I've got more questions about. But great play, man, by Okoye to get his hands up, elevate, have the awareness, first of all, to know that he's not going to get there. I think this is the route that Rodgers is probably targeting over the middle. I'm not sure that Wiggins is going to be able to react to this and play it from the other side. So they've got us here as far as a high percentage opportunity for Rodgers to throw that football to him. Buchanan, to me, does gain possession of the football. Does it occur before Rodgers finishes the catch? I don't know. I guess you don't have to finish the catch when you get one knee down or 2 knees down, even though one hand isn't really controlling the football. I got my own thoughts about the whole thing, and I'll talk about the likely play here in a moment. From a Ravens standpoint, I think Green is a little impatient here. This would be an opportunity as a coach to give him some feedback. Basically, he ends up outside of the tackle, the left tackle on the stunt. So we're bringing Buchanan off the edge, Skoranek briefly engages him and then releases. And then here's Green against the left tackle. So watch those guys kind of end up bunched up next to each other. And that impedes Buchanan slightly in his path to try to get to Aaron Rodgers. Hopefully I explain that in a way that makes sense. The idea here is I think Green should be more so inside the B gap underneath of that, and that would have a somewhat clearer path to Buchanan. I could obviously be wrong. That's just how we would run the stunt and the type of feedback that we would give him there. If the inside linebacker is looping outside to C gap, then you've got B. In any case, Okoye tips it. It's a great job by Buchanan, I think. And then 69, not even sure who that is, absolutely pummels Aaron Rodgers. You can see that Rodgers wants nothing to do with that situation there. He definitely has two knees down. I just don't know that he had control of the football with two hands and maybe even one. In any case, the refs, overturned the initial ruling, which is an interception, and they end up punting 2 plays later. We'll move back to the offense for the rest of this video. 4th and 5, it's about 4.5 minutes left. This is, of course, the completion to Flowers. Now, when I say the Steelers are a more intelligent football team from a defensive standpoint in some of these high leverage moments, this ain't it. So a nickel blitz off the edge. They're asking Ramsey to make this tackle on the out route to Flowers, basically speed out. The line to gain is the positive 49. So basically right where I had that yellow line drawn. It's an impossible coverage task. From their standpoint. I do want to point out that the nickel DB who had blitzed earlier to get the sack on Lamar, he paid for it. This time Linderbaum peels outside and goes and gets him, forklifts him up in the air and plants him onto the ground. Beautiful play. This is the line to gain, and Flowers has caught the football. I cannot lie. In this moment, watching the game, I was like, man, just get the first down and hold it. I think it's because of the timing of the ball's arrival that Flowers ends up turning over the other shoulder, just trying to get away. I do think that there's something to be said for people who have talked about Flowers being a little bit more aware, not necessarily on this play, but globally over the course of this entire season and his career. Hey, it's a 4th down, 4th and 5. Let's just get the line to gain and move on. Don't try to get more yards out of it. He does have that mentality. He makes plenty of big plays, including yesterday. All right, the touchdown by Likely we'll discuss here. I kind of made my thoughts known about it during the reaction video. We had just had a big 3rd down completion to Flowers for 33 yards. I think this needs to be our bread and butter. We're good at this type of stuff. I recognize people are going to have different opinions on that. Likely's route is not drawn up accurately here. I can't draw it up in the end zone because, we don't see it. In any case, it's a play action under center. First of all, gets Lamar in position. Second of all, usually results in a pocket that looks like this. If someone stops our under center run game and under center play action, then of course we'll have to go to shotgun stuff. I just don't trust our offensive line to be able to block in shotgun situations where things can be a little bit more obvious for the defense. In any case, first read for Lamar is Kolar, and I think Jalen Ramsey is tracking that across the field. In addition, the reason why he doesn't throw it, there's another DB off screen down here, about where I have that rotating graphic, that is, going to be in the window if Lamar delivers the football. Second read, gets to it quick. It's Likely over the middle. Really nice throw by Lamar. Likely catches it. Obviously, control. You do not need 3 feet down to complete a catch anywhere on the football field, nor do you need 3 feet down in the end zone. You need to make a football move, apparently, and it has to occur 1, 2, 3, which is the dumbest thing ever because Likely's making a football move right now. Still making a football move as the right foot gets down. Still making a football move by extending the ball away from the defensive back, which is actually in the rules, in the rule book, extending the ball is there. I think it's point C or maybe it's B and C. Extending the football forward, and that's exactly what he does. For the idiots who say, well, that's how he caught it. What's he supposed to do? Grow longer fucking arms in the middle of the play? Or bring it back to tuck, which is where the DB is. The DB makes 1 and then 2 attempts to punch the football and Likely has control over the entire play. That's a catch. That's a touchdown on every portion of the field. It's not my fault that the NFL doesn't know it. We still had opportunities to get this done in terms of taking the lead and then giving the Steelers the ball back with our defense an opportunity to keep shutting them down. This play is messed up all the way around. This is a 3rd and 2. We're right at the 5-yard line with about 2:30 left. So I think Lamar already knows something's not right. Henry realizes it once he shifts or motions to the opposite side. I think the Ravens still have one timeout at this point. To me, as a coach, when you look, you know the formation, and you can tell with the line of scrimmage being the 5-yard line, nice and clean, that neither Ricard nor Flowers is on the line of scrimmage. At the NFL, that's considered illegal formation, obviously. Other levels of football, you could take the receiver and he could be on the line, which would therefore obviously make Kolar ineligible. You can't do that at the NFL level. As a coach up top, in my opinion, you have the option to call a timeout. Yes, you want to preserve the timeout at a certain point for the end of the game situation. I understand that, but Lamar and Henry both know something is not right. This, to me, looks like it should have been QB power read because you have everyone on the front side blocking down. And then I think it's Falele, the right guard, pulling to log up as if we're running QB power read to our left, like with Lamar possibly keeping it. So basically we're running power with Henry to the wrong side here. This is absolute foobar. When I titled this, when I was looking for the title of this video, trying to figure it out, this is how you lose football games. In the 4th quarter, the 57th minute of the game, we are running the blocking scheme. I would love for someone to explain this one to me about what makes it right, what we did here. Obviously, it's a penalty. I think we've got motion from the wrong side, if you will, possibly even the back on the wrong side. I haven't read an explanation of this one at all. Just really don't have time. I do think that there is something to be said for a couple of people who commented on the reaction video saying, hey, after failing that, it's 4th and 5. We've shown no ability to score. Well, we did actually score Isaiah Likely. Maybe we should kick the field goal. I would be okay with someone having that opinion and that approach. If it were me on this play, the one that we just ran, 3rd and 2, I'm going under center. And we're going to go under center and probably under center play action. So that's been our bread and butter. When I say bread and butter, it's something that our offensive line can execute consistently, give Lamar the opportunity to throw the football, and then we either score a touchdown or we, sack, incomplete pass, whatever, and we kick the field goal. I think we maybe overthought this one a little bit. If we weren't going to go under center, in my opinion, let's go QB power read. I want to put the ball in the hands of Lamar. They did. They, being the Steelers, line up in a goal line look pre-snap. So perhaps we should have had the ability to check out of this play. It ended up being foobar anyway. And then we go for it on 4th and 5 and don't get it. Finally, I won't talk about that play. Finally, we'll talk about the last one. We're out of options at this point. There's plenty to be critical about prior to this one. It's the sack by Lamar. Of course, some Steelers fans and non-Ravens fans are going to be exceptionally critical of Lamar. I think the design is just really lacking. I would have liked at some point to throw the football up to Hopkins, at least once, around this time period. For a bigger gain, you got the opportunity to get a pass interference. Of course, he could go up and make something spectacular happen. I think he's shown that ability for us even in 2025. I don't know who else we have on the field that could do anything like that. We basically run all verticals here. Nothing gets accomplished. We do chip on the right side here with Ali against Watt, helping out Rosengarten. I thought Rosengarten did a really nice job 6 or 8 times yesterday in pass pro, one-on-one pass pro, in fact, against Watt. This is not one of them from the standpoint of he's getting help being chipped. The loss is on the backside here by Highsmith. The Steelers are dropping 7 out in coverage, and rushing 4. Lamar ends up fading away to his right. Highsmith tracks him down from behind. If I was going to say, hey, what should we do or what could we do? Being as we were going to chip Watt and try to get Ali to his outside shoulder, which is what happens here. Maybe we could run something like this. Basically Flowers on a deeper post corner towards the pylon, or maybe towards, between the 15 and the 10. We've only got 9 seconds to deal with here, so time is obviously a factor. And then Andrews running a little bit more shallow out with Lamar intentionally by design trying to work to the right side. I know that sounds crazy because we're moving right into Watt, right? But what you're doing here is you're trying to build in the ability to throw it away, which we don't have initially if we're going to be in the pocket. Build in the ability to get outside here if we're able to do it. We've got to be able to do it. Who knows? Watt could get dramatically upfield. And oh, by the way, the Steelers are running the same stunt here to take advantage of Falele that worked earlier in the game. I didn't actually talk about it here, but they're switching it. So Falele completely unaware. I'll give you the end zone angle in a moment. They actually ran this one twice. I guess what I'm saying is the idea for me would be by design moving Lamar a little bit, getting Ali to help out Rosengarten, and give Lamar the opportunity to just throw it away if we want, or worst case scenario, start working this way, Watt gets upfield. We may have to go underneath and then make that happen. But like I said, time is a factor. You're really out of options there. We could have done something far better than what I just described, but something better than what we did, which was essentially nothing. I do want to cover the end zone angle of that one for a moment, just to talk about the dynamic that occurs here, how oblivious we are at the right guard position. Four-man rush, 93 is clearly stunting to take out and pick Linderbaum, and watch how this happens, number one, and the one guy who still hasn't recognized it yet. We're operating at a deficit at that position. It's okay to still be talking about it, because we're into week 14 of the 2025 NFL season. This is the type of thing that should have been handled by week 4 in 2024. And if you weren't good enough, then we just can't play you consistently. John Harbaugh and the Ravens have committed to that guy, and it's been to their detriment. There's a lot to say and a blame to pass around. Should Lamar take a sack there? No. Could the design have been better on the final play, the one that I just showed you from the all-22 in the end zone angle? I think absolutely. It doesn't have to be what I just drew up. It could have been something radically different. I think the Steelers outplayed us for 2.5 quarters. The fourth quarter, totally different, including a portion of late third quarter. It really makes our coverage choice on that 3rd and 4, the touchdown to Jaylen Warren, stick out like a sore thumb. I think the Steelers normally give really solid preparation for Lamar. He's a specific threat, and they have 2 or 3 different answers that they've gone to over the years. And in this case, they seem to fall in line with what teams have been doing more recently, which is play a lot of zone because you can get pressure with your 4-man rush. But when you do play man, do not play traditional versions of man, man-free, or cover 2-man. Bring heavy pressure, 6 or 7, force him to get rid of the ball quick, force him to actually recognize it, and receivers to break off the routes. Our pass game needs a reworking and a rehaul. Totally, if you ask me, once the season is over, our issues are systemic at this point, starting from the outside, the offensive lineman out. I've already talked about, the pass plays. We really betrayed our team in some of the bigger moments in yesterday's loss to the Steelers. Criticisms of the refs notwithstanding, they are valid. I have my own. Obviously, I've made them known on social media and through my videos. But to me, there's plenty of blame that should be pointed at ourselves as well. The defense got to be better in critical moments. Offense, incredible lack of execution, and no options given to Lamar in some of these situations. I cannot blame him for the frustration that he apparently expressed to Falele on the sideline. He should have done that 2 months ago, in my opinion. He's a nice guy, Lamar. He wants to win. At some point, you do have to cross the line into being more of a jerk or an asshole than you want to be, even for a short period of time, because what we're seeing on the field is not good enough against average teams like the Steelers, let alone the better NFL teams in the league, who we wish we could face in the playoffs, and who we'll see 2 of them here coming up in the Patriots and the Packers. Appreciate you guys' time. I hope you enjoyed what is my attempt at an honest review of 10 of the biggest plays from our loss to the Steelers. Drops us to 6-7, a really frustrating and long NFL season that is coming to a close really quickly. Appreciate you guys' time.